Yo, what's up, guys? So, if you watched my last video, you know that I was in California last week and I just got back yesterday. And I had a job in Birmingham today, so kind of tired. And I'm recording this video because I need to make more YouTube content. So, anyways, up on this computer, I have pulled up a list of gear. And what I want to talk about is the gear that we took, why we took it, and why we felt the need to take this much gear. And then kind of go into details of like if I had to pick like a smaller version of this list, what I would take and why. So I'm going to just kind of real quick fire off on everything and the reasons why. So first up, Sony FX3 is what I'm currently filming on, and I think we all know why you would take a Sony FX3. 4K, dual base ISO, small form factor, autofocus is incredible, right? Moving on, I had two red Komodos, and I had one that was fully caged, fully built out, handle, side handle, monitor, battery plate, whatever, right? I had one that was just the body and then a half cage to have multiple rigging points. The reason we brought those was one was a handheld camera, one was a camera meant for rigging, and the spec reasons would be 6K, global shutter, and red raw, right? So those were our two primary cameras that we use for majority of the shoot. Then Jonathan brought a DJI Mavic 3 Pro and a DJI Mavic 3 Cine. I believe those are the two that he brought. He brought two cameras or two drones just in case he wrecked one or something happened, but he primarily shot on the Cine just because of it having a little bit more, you know, quality and a little bit more stuff like that where you could tweak it in post or whatever. I'm not a drone guy, so he also brought the Nikon ZR, and that was kind of like our way to kind of like crash test that camera. It was small form factor, it's got a big screen on the back. I think it's pretty comparable to the FX3 as far as like form factor and things like that. Obviously, if you've seen one, the screen's bigger, it's 6K. It does have in-body stabilization. It's a Z mount, so you can mount anything to it. And then I want to say it is still global shutter. Don't quote me on that. And then as far as glass, what we took was, first off, the client wanted us to shoot spherical. And so I was like, well, I'll just take my Sigmas, and I have the 28, the 40, and the 65. And those are all T1.5. So that's the Cine version of the Sigmas. And I also brought the 24 to 70 2.8 and the Sony 70-200 2.8. The reason I brought those is that's what I had, and I didn't feel the need to necessarily rent anything and risk anyone else's gear, right? With his Nikon ZR, Jonathan brought some Voigtlander lenses. I want to say it was a 28 and a 40. I think he might have had one other, but that's what he brought. And then I brought the RS4 Pro, and I actually built it out a certain way where I didn't have to use the tilter ring. So I can make a video on how I built that out and why I built it that way, if you'd be interested. So that's what all we took. And, if I had to be honest, the main cameras that we used were the red Komodo, which was the stripped down version and also the A camera version. And then we used the Sony FX3 a pretty good bit, as well as the DJI Mavic 3 Pro. Mavic 3 Cine Pro, whatever the name of the Cine version is. I ended up using the 28 and the 40 lens the most, and then the 24 to 70 on the Sony. And then Jonathan ended up using the Voigtlander 40 for pretty much majority of what he shot on the Nikon ZR. And so that's what we took, and obviously the reasons. But if I had to kind of go back and like repack, like start last week over and repack, I probably would tell Jonathan like, hey, just don't worry about bringing the Nikon ZR. Like, obviously we crash tested it, made sure it was cool and all that good stuff. Wonderful camera, nothing wrong with it, but he only used it if he felt like he needed to use it, which I don't think was all that very often. And then I would probably not bring my gimbal. And people are probably, oh, why would you not do that? Well, a lot of the shots we needed of the exterior of the vehicle, one, the vehicle is so massive that the drone camera being fairly wide was actually really good for the vehicle. And a lot of the exterior shots we needed, we could have just got with the drone doing the thing, right? I did end up using the gimbal a good bit for like rolling shots and stuff, but at the same time, like the drone is pretty good at that. But I also could have used a handheld camera. You know, it would have been nice for a little bit more shake and stuff like that for those shots, just because of the type of video that we're making. We want it to be very like high pace and have a lot of texture to it and things like that. You know, nothing that's like gonna make you throw up or anything, but texture, good movement, stuff like that. That's not to say I didn't use the gimbal a lot, but that is saying like we could have definitely, like, if I had to pack lighter for whatever reason, I could have done away with the gimbal. Like I said, I didn't build the gimbal with the Pro Ring, with the Tilta Pro Ring, so that saved me some space, but I still ended up, using the gimbal maybe like 20% of the time. I would have left my 65 millimeter lens at the house. Just didn't use it all that much, especially for the type of content that we were shooting. We were shooting primarily wides and mediums. The vehicle, I wish I could show you, but I can't. But the vehicle's massive, and so like, we're primarily staying like wide and medium on this vehicle because of how big it is. Like, you could argue, oh, what if you need to get tighter? And that's what my 24 to 70 and 7200 lens package would be. But the other thing is the adapters that we brought. I brought just like some regular adapters, but also a speed booster. And so like that kind of helps, mitigate the need for multiple lenses, because I think on the Komodo, it shoots 28, essentially becomes like a 40, and then a 40 becomes close to like a 65 when you're not using a speed booster, and then obviously with a speed booster it's a 28 and a 40. Sorry, this is Cricket. She hasn't seen me in a couple of days, so she's going crazy. But yeah, that's what I would bring and not bring, and downsize, whatever, because we did only take 2 bags. We took a Think Tank camera bag, and we took a Pelican 16 something, 15 something. I don't know. It's a fairly large Pelican. It's the flight case. But yeah, if you have any questions, I'd love to go into more detail about this kind of stuff. So if you have any questions, let me know. I'm going to make a video soon about why I didn't take the Tilta ring. Check this out. The Tilta ring. And then I'm going to make, in that same video, talk about what I built instead and why I took that instead. So, see ya.